They dropped the April jobs report this past week. 115,000 jobs added. Unemployment rate unchanged, 4.3%. And the headlines did what the headlines always do. They celebrated the number, called it resilient, called it solid. One analyst said, and I quote, "It's hard to argue against the notion that the labor market is on solid footing." Solid footing. Let me show you where the cracks are. First, understand how that number works. The unemployment rate and the jobs number come from two different surveys. The establishment survey counts jobs added by businesses. The household survey is where the unemployment rate comes from. They don't always tell the same story, and right now they are telling very different stories. Because while 115,000 jobs got added on paper, the household survey showed something else entirely. 226,000 workers disappeared from the labor force. Not fired, not laid off, just gone. Stopped looking, stopped being counted. And the part-time number? People working part-time because they can't find full-time work? That jumped by 445,000 in a single month to 4.9 million people. The broader unemployment measure, the one that catches all of that, sits at 8.2%. So when they tell you 4.3%, what they mean is 4.3% of the people still actively looking. Everyone else got quietly subtracted from the equation. Watch the pattern. Now, here's what nobody is talking about. Not yet. Graduation season is coming, and for some, already here. May and June, every year, hundreds of thousands of new workers entering the labor market simultaneously. Bachelor's degrees, associate's degrees, trade certifications, high school graduates, all of them showing up at the same time, resumes in hand, ready to work. The BLS tries to account for this. They call it seasonal adjustment. But those models are built on historical patterns, and the historical patterns assume things that no longer exist. They assumed immigration was filling lower wage positions, keeping the pipeline moving. That's been choked off. They assumed corporate America was hiring. Right now, corporate America is cutting DEI offices, freezing headcount, and letting AI handle the entry-level load. They assumed federal government jobs would absorb some of the overflow. Federal employment has been shrinking. So what happens when you flood a narrowing market with an enormous new cohort of workers who need entry-level positions in an economy where entry-level is exactly what's disappearing? The unemployment rate stays flat on paper because the new grads take 60 to 90 days to formally register as unemployed. They're still searching, still optimistic, still not counted. Not yet. Check back in July. That's when the real number shows up. But here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. The graduation wave is not going to hit everyone in the same way. And that brings me to the quiet part. The part that gets buried in the aggregate. The part that disappears when you say 4.3%, like that covers everybody. Black Americans. Over the last 2 decades, Black Americans have posted some of the most significant increases in educational attainment of any group in this country. Degree acquisition rates climbing, graduate degrees climbing, the credential pipeline full. And the unemployment rate for Black workers right now, 7.1%. Nearly double the white unemployment rate of 3.6%. In the same economy, with the same, and in many cases more, credentials. Let that sit with you, because what this exposes is a lie that was sold as a promise. The promise was simple. Get the degree, close the gap. Education is the equalizer. Do the work, earn the credential, and the market will meet you fairly. The data says otherwise. Black college graduates still face unemployment rates and wage gaps that white workers without degrees don't face. That is not a credential problem. That is not an effort problem. That is a pipeline problem. That is a structural access problem wearing a credentialed problem's clothes. And now, right now, you're about to add a new enormous cohort of Black graduates into a market that is shrinking at the entry level, actively dismantling DEI infrastructure across corporate America, cutting the federal government workforce, which has historically been one of the most reliable equalizers for black professional employment, seeing part-time for economic reasons spike by nearly 500,000 in a single month. So just tell me what that picture looks like in July. I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like a generation that did everything right by every metric this society told them mattered, walking into a market that was restructured while they were in school to make their credentials count less than the generation before them. It looks like 7.1% becoming 8, then 9, and the headline still saying the labor market remains resilient. Resilient for who? This isn't about doom. This is about being clear-eyed. Because if you understand the pattern, you can make different decisions. You stop waiting for the market to validate what you built. You build the market. You understand that the credential was never the destination. It was supposed to be the floor. And if the floor keeps shifting, you learn to build on different ground. That conversation is coming, and we're going to have it. But first, let's call it what it is. The headline said 4.3%. The real number being written right now for everyone in graduation ceremonies, in job applications that don't get callbacks, in part-time schedules for people who need full-time wages, that's where the real number lies. Watch the pattern. Follow the money. This is Keith. Thanks for listening to Keith Speaks.